Hello and good morning. Thank you all for joining in today's press conference for the Crown Act. I'm City Councilor Sena, the sponsor of the ordinance that will be voted on at tonight's council meeting. Citigroup did a great study that evaluated the cost of racism to our economy, resulted in $16 trillion lost in US GDP, specifically looking at the cost of racism towards the Black community. At the same study, it states that closing the Black wage gap could have added $2.7 trillion in income to the GDP per year, and facilitating easy access to higher education for Black students could have increased lifetime incomes $90 to $113 billion. So when the issue of discrimination in the workplace and education centers focused on race-based hairstyles was brought to my attention by Black women and youth leaders, I gladly put my support for their efforts in passing the Crown Act, creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. Black women are 1.5 times more likely to be sent home from the workplace because of their hair. Black women's hair is 3.4 times more likely to be perceived as unprofessional. And education institutions use the same language and reasoning to ban Black hairstyles or grounds for discipline or even removal from school entirely. As our community continues to have discussion on equity, passing the Crown Act today in City Council can bring us one step closer to a more equitable community where we support our Black, Indigenous, people of color, and especially our youth. We can close the wage gap, dismantle structural barriers to hiring Black talent, support our youth in higher education. This is but a step in the right direction, and I am honored to be here with 4 incredible leaders championing the Crown Act locally as well as supporting national efforts. With us, we have Agustin Leon Sainz, one of our youth leaders today and the fierce advocate that first raised the issue to me. Agustin is a senior at Albuquerque High School and is one of our youth organizers for the Crown Act New Mexico. He was born in Quito, Ecuador, and is a proud bilingual Latino immigrant. As a leader in his community, he strives to champion equity by amplifying marginalized voices and empowering under-resourced communities. Agustin?
Thank you so much, Councilor Sena, for the beautiful introduction. I am very happy to see you all today and to be at this press conference for the Crown Act at the Albuquerque City Council. I believe the Crown Act is such an important step to take in this day and age. And what motivated the Crown Act for me was last February when I was doing some research as a high schooler for a program that I do at my school, which is called Youth in Government. And through that, I was really able to appreciate the power and the change that the Crown Act wants to make, and specifically centering the experiences and challenges that Black people face. And so when I contacted and emailed Senator Antoinette Cedillo Lopez, that's when we really were able to get the ball rolling. And from there, we were able to create the amazing Crown Act COC, which is the Central Organizing Committee. And that is composed of a couple of the members you see here today, but an amazing leadership group of Black women who are really focusing on centering their experiences and seeing how the Crown Act can incite change in our community. So then from people from elementary school to the workplace can stop being discriminated against for wearing their hair naturally. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Agustin. Next, we have Kiana Sanchez Rodarte. Rodarte is a senior at La Cueva High School. She has a passion for activism. She started up her school's BSU after the summer to create a safe space for Black students and is now the student president of the BSU. Kiana?
Hi, Augustine reached out to my school's BSU about the Crown Act. I've been familiar with the Crown Act because I was in law class and we were searching up bills, and I was really interested in the Crown Act, and I didn't realize that all the discrimination that had happened to me was because of, I didn't know it was discrimination. I thought it was just, I never looked at it that way until I started getting more educated and I in this group and hearing more of my experiences and how wrong it was. So I'm so glad to be a part of this.
Thank you for that, Kiana. Our next speaker that I have the honor of introducing, Alexandria Taylor. Taylor is the Deputy Director at the New Mexico Coalition of Sexual Assault Programs, working to support sexual assault service providers throughout the state, as well as leading on the coalition's public policy efforts. She also serves on the ACLU New Mexico Board of Directors. She is a member of the New Mexico Black Central Organizing Committee, which is working to pass the Crown Act in Albuquerque and New Mexico. Alexandria?
Thank you, Councilor Sena, and thank you so much for your leadership and for your partnership in bringing this ordinance before City Council today. There was a study done by GOV that found that African American women's hair is 3 times more likely to be perceived as unprofessional in the workplace, and that African American women are twice as likely to experience social pressure at work to straighten our hair compared to white women, as well as Black women being 50% more likely to report being sent home or sent not hired in the workplace. And discrimination can be found in places like companies' grooming policies that have language like reflect a professional image and prohibiting excessive hairstyles, which may be natural or protective styles that Black people wear. And as you stated, this also has an impact on other areas outside of the place, such as in housing and as our youth leaders are representing today in schools as well. And this is a local issue. This is an issue that we face here in Albuquerque and New Mexico. And so the New Mexico Black Central Organizing Committee, we've been organizing with joyful collaboration to share our stories, to share our lived experiences, because we have the lived experience of facing hair discrimination. And this is not just something that impacts Black women, this impacts all Black people, as well as other people of color. And there are real consequences to young people, to their access to school and extracurricular activities, as well as to adults and in job opportunities, and in self-esteem. And so 7 other states have already passed the Crown Act, and a handful of local jurisdictions have passed it. So we are excited for Albuquerque to be leading the way in offering these protections. The House also passed this last session in Congress. And so we are really excited that we are going to lead the way here at the City of Albuquerque and with your leadership, Councilor Sena, and then passing the Crown Act at the state legislature this upcoming session. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Alexandria. Our final speaker I have the honor of introducing is one of our own city attorneys, Tori Jacobus, who has been a great support in working on the Crown Act ordinance along with our City Council staff. Tori Jacobus is the head of the City of Albuquerque's Office of Civil Rights and Managing Assistant City Attorney in the Office of the City Attorney. Ms. Jacobus's work focuses on expanding the city's initiatives related to documenting and addressing reported civil rights violations. Additionally, she provides legal guidance to the City of Albuquerque in an effort to develop, promote, and implement policies that reflect the city's commitment to equity and inclusion. Tori?
Good morning. Thank you so much for that introduction, Councilor Sena. So the Crown Act amendments to the Human Rights Ordinance are emphasizing the City of Albuquerque's commitment to equally protecting all members of our community by addressing the centuries of appearance-related discrimination that Black women have suffered. We're giving equal treatment to everyone who suffers from discrimination based on appearance. These revisions and these protections will allow all members of our community to pursue educational and employment opportunities without the risk of harming our emotional, physiological, psychological, and economic well-being. Federal legal guidance has made it clear that natural hair discrimination is race-based discrimination. The City of Albuquerque has provided these protections to its employees through a prior administrative instruction. The Crown Act revisions to the Human Rights Ordinance will expand that guidance and those protections to our community members and our businesses. Thank you so very much for allowing us the opportunity to share these changes and this work with you today.
Thank you all so much, first for your leadership and also for sharing some of your own personal stories. Kiana, hearing that is absolutely heartbreaking, that seeing that discrimination does not discriminate, essentially. It impacts all of our community members, as Augustine said, from early education to all the way up to the place of employment. So thank you so much for sharing your stories. And being leaders in this. I truly do appreciate it. And for those watching on our live stream, you all have the ability to also sign up for public comment at today's City Council meeting up till 2 o'clock to share your own stories, because that is exactly what moved me to champion in this ordinance, is hearing these personal stories. And as much as we want to say that these acts of discrimination don't exist, they do, and it does impact our communities, as even Tori had stated, just how profoundly it can. So thank you all again for attending, and I do see that we have members of the media joining. If you all do have questions, please do either put in the chat, or I just gave you also the ability to talk. So please do ask your questions, and if there aren't any, we'll end it with that. All right. Well, thank you all again so much for leading the charge, for bringing this to our attention, and hopefully City Council will pass this ordinance tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.